Hey everyone, happy to meet you again in our new video. Today I'm going to talk about listening. Listening, as you know, is an essential skill to improve like speaking, reading, writing. Don't worry if you still struggle with listening to English after watching this video and do all the exercises. You have started a great journey with us of listening skills or improving your listening skills. We have many lectures that will help you. We have many lectures waiting for you to practice your English listening skills. Now, take some time to listen to this lecture and don't hesitate to share it with your colleagues. Let's improve your listening comprehension skills now. Listen carefully to this lecture about names.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Felipe, Monica, Theo, and I can't remember your name.
Patricia.
Right, Patricia. Those are all beautiful names. And that's our topic today. Names. Names are a cultural universal. This means everyone uses names. A person's name can tell us a bit about a person's family. Today, we'll begin by looking at first names and how people choose names for their children. And then we'll talk about family names and look at the different categories of family names. Although the scope of the lecture today is English language names, we can use the same approach, to look at names from any culture. Let's take a brief look at first or given names. There are several ways parents choose the first name for their child. The first way is by family history. Parents may choose a name because it is passed from generation to generation. For example, the firstborn son might be named after his father or grandfather. Although family names are also passed to daughters, it is usually as a middle name. Adding Junior or the second, for example, William Parker II, is only done with boys, not with girls' names. The second way parents choose a name is after a family member or friend who has died recently, or after someone they admire, like a well-known leader or a famous musician. Although most English first names mean something, for example, Richard means powerful, and Anne means grace, nowadays meaning is not the main reason people select their baby's name. The third way is to provide a push for the child. Parents want to choose a name that sounds very successful. A strong name might help them in the business world, for example. Or they might choose a name that works for either gender, like Taylor or Terry. So given these three methods, what is the most common way parents choose a name? Many parents choose a name simply because they like it, or because it's fashionable or classic. Fashions in names change just as they do in clothes. 100 years ago, many names came from the Bible. Names such as Daniel and Anna and Hannah and Matthew. Then, 50 years ago, biblical names went out of fashion. Nowadays, names from the Bible are becoming popular again. Similarly, parents often choose classic names, names that were popular in 1900, 1950, and are still popular now. Classic names for boys include Thomas, David, Robert, and Michael. And for girls, Anna, Elizabeth, Emily, and Catherine, just to name a few. They're classic. They never go out of style. Let's look at the origin of last names, also called family names or surnames. Researchers have studied thousands of last names, and they have divided them into 4 categories. The categories are place names, patronymics, added names, and occupational names. A recent survey showed that of the 7,000 most popular names in the United States today, 43% were place names, 32% were patronymics, 15% were occupational names, and 9% were added names. The first category is place names. Place names usually identified where a person lived or worked. Someone named John Hill lived near a hill, for example. And the Rivers family lived near a river. If you hear the name Emma Bridges, what image do you see? Do you see a family that lives near a bridge? If you do, you get the idea. The second category is patronymics. That's patronymics. A patronymic is the father's name, plus an ending like sen or son. The ending means that a child, a boy, is the son of his father. The names Robertson, Peterson, and Wilson are patronymics. Robertson is son of Robert. Peterson is son of Peter, and so on. The third category is added names. Linguists sometimes call this category nicknames. But when most of us hear the word nickname, we think of a special name a friend or a parent might use. The word nickname is actually an Old English word that means an additional name, an added name. So I'll use the term added name. This category of last names is fun because the names usually described a person. Reed, Baldwin, and Biggs are examples. Reed was from red, for red hair. Baldwin was someone who was bald, someone who had little or no hair. And Biggs?
Someone big?
Yeah, someone big, right. Now, if we look around the room, we could probably come up with some new last names, like Curly or Strong. Now, the fourth category is occupational names. The origin of the family name was the person's occupation. The most common examples of occupational names still used today are baker, someone who bakes bread; tailor, someone who sews clothes; miller, someone who makes flour for bread; and smith. Now, Smith is actually the most common name in the Western English-speaking world. The name comes from an Old English word, smite. That's S-M-I-T-E, which means to hit or strike. In the old days, a smith made metal things for daily life, like tools. Every town needed smiths. What's interesting is that many languages have a family name that means smith. In Arabic, it's Haddad, H-A-D-D-A-D. In Spanish, it's Herrera, H-E-R-R-E-R-A. In Italian, it's Ferraro, F-E-R-R-A-R-O. And in German, it's Schmidt, spelled S-C-H-M-I-D-T. All these names mean smith. Though names may tell us something about someone's family history, you need to keep in mind that they may not tell us much at all about the present. For example, there's usually not much connection between the origin of the name and the person who has it now. Take the name Cook, for instance. A person named Cook today probably doesn't cook for a living. Also, many people change their names for various reasons. Lots of people who have moved to the United States have changed their names to sound more American. This happens less now than in the past, but people still do it. People also use pen names or stage names to give themselves a professional advantage. For example, the writer Samuel Clemens used the pen name Mark Twain, and Thomas Mapother IV uses the stage name Tom Cruise. So let's recap now. In today's lesson, we looked at how parents choose English first names. We also looked at some common origins of family names. In the next class, we'll look at how names are given in Korea and in Japan. This is covered in the next section of the book. That's all for today.
Page 6. Listening for details. A. Close your book. Listen to the lecture again. Add supporting details to your notes, and correct any mistakes.
Hello everyone, I'm here again. As you had listened to the lecture, here is something I would like to share with you. The bold-faced words below are from the lecture about names. Read each sentence, guess the meaning of the bold-faced words, then work with a partner to find the synonym or phrase that has meaning as the bold-faced word. For example, do you know the origin of your last name? If so, where did it come from? 3 generations in my family have the first name Thomas. My grandfather, my father, and me. He had only a few minutes, so he gave us a brief explanation of his family name. Classic names like John and Elizabeth have always been popular. Here are the words which are in the bold-faced. For example, origin, generation, brief, classic, genre. In the other slide are scope, imagine, universal, admire, keep in mind. The exercise is what are these words mean? Okay, so do some research and comment with the meaning of these words, or try to find the meaning according to what is said in the lecture above. Here we are again. So these are some other words which had mentioned also in the lecture above. For example, biblical, it is an adjective, means in or from the Bible. Patronym, it's a noun, a name that comes from the father's name. Surname, noun, it's a family name. Occupational, it's an adjective relating to your job. Recap, verb to review or to give a summary. How my listening will be more effective. To make my listening more effective, identifying main ideas. There are 2 main reasons for taking lectures notes: to help you focus on the most important information, to review the information later. So the speaker here usually introduce the main ideas of the lecture with signal phrases. Here are some signal phrases I had mentioned which are very important in listening. Take notes and listen again so as to give us the general idea about the lecture according to the signal phrases I had mentioned. The first one is we will begin by looking at. Okay, I'd like to begin with let's look at and what are other signal phrases which are in the lecture. Look at the pictures. Can you match the people in the pictures with their descriptions? Please take some time to do this exercise. If you finish the whole video, try to do some exercises in which you have to recap and comment with the general overview of the video. Thank you for following. I hope that this lecture is really helpful. And don't forget to share it with your colleagues and everyone you know. That kind of lessons are really helpful to improve your listening skills. Take some time to tell us about the origin of your names, and don't forget to comment with your name and the origin of your name. Take care and see you in the coming lecture.